Hi there, David. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting this essay for you today. I'm happy to see that you've submitted an essay for correction. Great job. Let's take a look at what you wrote. I hope you don't mind. I took the liberty of including the task in your essay because it's something I do need to refer to when I correct your essay. So I added it here. Let's go ahead and see what you wrote. The topic is whether governments should spend taxpayer funds on cultural activities like music and art, um, or if it's a waste of money. Discuss both views. Okay. It has been argued that taxpayers' funds should be used to support cultural events such as music concerts and art exhibitions. Others believe that it is not appropriate to waste such money. This essay will explore both views and then offer a personal viewpoint. Okay, grammatically, lexically, this is beautiful. It's really very nice. I mean, you've done a great job of rephrasing, of paraphrasing the task and so forth. There is one major problem though. Take a look at the command here. As you will notice, each IELTS essay has a command that you have to respond to, or maybe it's a question instead of a command. In this instance, they've given you this command: discuss both views and give your opinion. Whatever your answer is to that command or question is considered your position. And if you look at the band descriptors for task achievement under band 7, it says that your position must be clear throughout the essay. The key word here is throughout. Throughout means from the beginning to the end. So, how can you interpret that? It means that your answer to whatever this command or this question is should be clear from your introduction. Here, we know that you're going to offer us a personal viewpoint, but you haven't done it here. And so we begin this essay not knowing what your position really is. Okay, so you should take that to mean that you should include your position. You should tell us what your position is and what your opinion is rather than just leaving us in the dark and saving it till the end of the essay. Okay? All right, so we'll come back to this and see how you could have potentially written this sentence. So let's get into it and see what else you wrote. On one side of the argument, some people concur that governments should spend taxpayers' funds on musical or artistic events in order to remind people of their own heritage. Every country has its own unique music and art which they received from their ancestors. Moreover, if governments promote this culture, it will not be delivered to the new generation. Okay. For example, British citizens usually listen to their authentic music in the government music concerts held twice a year. Their children would not recognize it if they had not have such events. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this paragraph. In a couple of different places, there's things that I want to talk about. So this paragraph tells us that, yes, I'm in favor of spending taxpayer money because it helps promote cultural heritage, specifically in terms of music. So here you tell us that we receive it from our ancestors, and here you got a little confused. Look at this. If governments promote this culture, which culture? It will not be delivered to the new generation. I think you meant something else. I think you meant if governments do not promote this culture, it will not be delivered to the new generation. Okay? Because what you wrote here really was rather confusing. I don't think this is what you meant. All right, and then you tell us, for example, British citizens usually listen to their authentic music in concerts held twice a year. If it weren't for these events, people wouldn't remember their music and wouldn't um, it wouldn't continue basically. Okay, it's fine. I want to retain the right to maybe comment on it later after the end of your essay. There was just that one little area that was a little incoherent, but other than that, you were okay. So let's move on. We'll talk about it. We'll come back to it in a little bit, okay? So, on the other hand, now you've decided to use on the other hand here, which is okay, but If you want to use on the other hand, you have to use it together with its kind of partner expression, which is on the one hand. These two expressions go together. You have to start this paragraph with on the one hand so that you can later use on the other hand here. Since you did not use on the one hand here, you really are supposed to use something entirely different here. So, a couple of choices. Either use on the one hand and then use on the other hand, or use expressions which are absolutely different and, none of these. So you said on the one side of the argument, which did feel a little unnatural to me, I have to tell you, didn't think it was the most natural expression. We don't really say this on the one side of the argument. So you could have said on the one hand here, but there are a lot of other expressions you can use to introduce paragraphs as well. Here you could have said something like that having been said, this being said, having said that, or in contrast even, or even just a simple however. All of these would have worked, okay? So keep that in mind. Let's try that though. So let's try that. However, other activists think that such money should be spent on building the infrastructure of the cities, hospitals, and schools. This is because businessmen can pay for such cultural exhibitions, and in return they will earn money. Oh, really? How? Thus, governmental funds would be worthless, okay, and ought to be spent to support healthcare systems, here, which save lives. For instance, according to a study conducted by the University of Oxford, the British government would save hundreds of lives if they paid the cost of one musical concert to a hospital. All right, get rid of the comma here. It was okay. There was a point where I did have a question mark. As you saw, I said, oh, really? How? It was an idea which was interesting, but it needed a little development. You can't just throw out very kind of loaded statements like this is. You said they will return money, but you never tell us how they will earn money or why they will earn money, okay? Basically, anytime you assert something, it is really important that you ask yourself why, how, okay? Then when you ask yourself that question or those questions, whatever the answer is really needs to go into your essay. Okay, this is how you ensure that you have a really well-developed essay. So something like, this is because governments can pay for such cultural exhibitions and in return they will earn money. Therefore, investing in such cultural activities is beneficial for both individuals of the society as well as the businesses, as through the price of tickets that are charged to viewers, they will earn money and citizens will have this cultural benefit. Okay, so something like that even would have been okay. Okay? All right, so let's move on a little bit. So, in conclusion, both points of view might have their merits. Some people believe that funding cultural activities is a part of saving the history of the country. In my opinion, the government should focus on building roads, healthcare facilities, for betterment of society. All right, let's fix this sentence. In my opinion, the government should focus on building roads and healthcare facilities for the betterment of society. Okay. So we finally learn what your position is. You are in favor of this argument. So that means that I agree with the order of your paragraphs. First, you talked about the paragraph you don't support, then you talked about the paragraph you do support. So that was good. What I don't like is a couple of things here. First of all, you mentioned this thing about building roads. I don't understand why. You never talked about it anywhere in your body paragraphs. It's not remotely related to what the topic is about. And so you really should have just left it out. The reason why I say that is because in these IELTS essays, or not just IELTS essays, but anytime you write an essay like this, you never want to include something in your conclusion or an introduction that you're not actually going to talk about in your body paragraphs. This was not about roads. This was, let's say, nowhere really. I mean, you didn't talk about roads or other types of infrastructure anywhere, so you should not have mentioned it in here in your in your conclusion, because we don't introduce something new in our conclusion. Okay. Um, so yeah, just basically take it out. Let's see. Government should focus on improving citizens' lives, like through healthcare facilities. Something like that would have been far better. All right. Let's see. So this was fine, except like I said, I thought you needed to add a little more to it. This I thought needed a little work, and this is the paragraph that I told you I wanted to come back to. So let's look at it now. So I looked at it again. I want to talk to you about it a little bit because it was interesting and it was good, but I didn't really think that the sentences themselves were particularly well linked to each other. Let me show you what I mean. What are you talking about here? You're talking about that taxpayers' funds should be used to support cultural events, okay? First of all, the only thing you talked about throughout this entire essay was musical concerts. And you can do that. You can do that because it says such as. So this such as means that they're giving you examples. So you don't have to talk about them both. So it's okay that you talk just about music. But let's actually see what you said and see where the problem of the cohesion of this paragraph is. So here in the first sentence, what did you say? You said that they should use this money because it reminds people of their heritage. Then you said that each country has its own music that they get from their ancestors. If governments promote this, it will not be delivered. So that was a problem sentence. We said that already. And then you said that in Britain, people listen to their native music twice a year. Without this music, their children wouldn't understand it or they wouldn't know it. So it was okay, but let me tell you where the problems were. So basically, remember what I said before? I said that after you assert any sort of idea, you should ask yourself why or how. So here, taxpayers' funds in order to remind people of their own heritage. Okay, why? Why should they do this? Are you answering it with this question? Every country has its own music and art which they receive from their ancestors. Okay, so great. Why does the government have to pay for it? Do you understand what I mean? So you answered the why, but you didn't really answer it related to what the question was. Why should governments pay for this? Why should they use taxpayer money? So you have to connect these things more closely together. Okay, and this is really important for coherence and cohesion. And then obviously you had a problem here. We already mentioned that. And then you said that without this, children wouldn't learn it. Okay. Do I think there was more you could have said? Yes. Do I think you could have developed it more? Yes. Is it okay if you fix those things? Also, yes. So basically, what I think is that you've got a nice essay here. You've got definitely some good features. The grammar, for the most part, is good. There were a couple of places that were a little iffy, there were some errors, and they created some incoherence. But on the whole, I thought it was a good attempt. Okay. It's an attempt that I think could get better relatively easily with just a little work, with a little feedback. I think you can make these essays even better. Okay. So I'd love to continue helping you do that if we can work together. And if you found this feedback helpful, I'm happy to continue working with you to help you improve some of the weak spots of your writing and help you get even better. I definitely love to see what you're doing with task one, because task one presents a whole host of problems on its own. So let's see what we can do. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and good luck.